Dungeon Fighter Online is getting plenty of quality of life improvements. Master X Master extends its alpha playtest after adding new servers. Gigantic is preparing for its stress test, breaking it away from being a Windows 10 exclusive, and Twin Saga introduces its player housing that likes to roam the game world. What's happening, guys? James Blonde here with MMOHuts.com with a quick weekly recap for MMO news and announcements for the week ending June 27th, 2016. Starting out the news this week is a reminder, because it's now over, that HeroWarz hosted its second closed beta test this past week, Tuesday the 21st through Friday the 24th. This time around, we saw more regions accessing the game, including most European countries, as well as more content like the two new playable characters, Mary and Hades. Now, I got a chance to try out the MMA Farmer's Daughter, as the game calls her, so definitely check out that video if you haven't already. Definitely a lot different than Audrey the Gunner Girl I played in the first look. Overall, the closed beta went well for KOG Games. There are tons of players in the game, now that it's opened up to more regions, of course, but they did run into a couple of bugs, which they did actually do their best in patching during the short closed beta test, which is always a great sign. No announcement yet for the next closed beta tests. Just like last time, they will be determined based on feedback, but it seems like they're going at a fairly quick pace. During this test, they also gave players an opportunity to unlock permanent open beta gear, as they're calling it, as they reach certain levels. So if that's the case, then it shouldn't be too long before we see open beta instead of closed beta. On a very similar note, Dungeon Fighter Online announced its upcoming Act 5 Part 1 update known as Guild Pack. This one seemed to be focused around the quality of life improvements for the game, not only for guilds, as the name implies, but in general. So starting out with the guild system, it's been updated with tons of new improvements and features such as recommended guilds, allied guilds, guild mileage, guild contents, guild hideout, showdown contribution systems, and plenty more. That's only the major ones. There are 6 guild dungeons that are now accessible through your guild hideouts, and only guildsmen can enter the dungeons. You can purify the guild dungeons, and as you clear each dungeon, your purification rate increases. So once it reaches a certain level, you can then enter the next dungeon. Beyond that, upgrades that, everybody will be happy with is the 16:9 wide mode that has finally been added to the game resolution mode. So the game now proudly supports 1280x720 and 16:900 in full windowed modes. Not only that, but Neopal introduced texture upscaling, so now everyone can enjoy cleaner text and better graphics to go along with the new resolutions. That's pretty nice. Oddly enough, there's not a lot of info on the DFO website. It's pretty much just all over their Facebook page and, of course, the new trailer you see playing here. Looks like these features are headed to the game tomorrow, the 28th. Also last week, NCSoft's new action RPG MOBA hybrid game, Master X Master, had its first alpha test, which ran from the 24th through today, the 27th. Turns out the game was really popular, enough so to create some server instability. So at first, players were reporting periodic DCs, and during the second day of the test, which was Saturday, the day that I wanted to play it and live stream it for you guys, they took the servers offline only to add several more servers in order to support the alpha playtest, which, again, is really nice that they got to it that quick. The game was back up late Saturday evening, and the new servers are rocking it. Kudos to them for getting that fixed so quickly. So as far as alpha test goes, there was actually quite a lot of content for players to check out. You've got the PvE missions, PvP in both 3v3 and 5v5, and access to plenty of the masters, as well as some skins already. The two PvP modes are definitely way different from each other. 3v3 is essentially a point-based deathmatch, where the 5v5 is a slightly sophisticated MOBA-style game mode with titans and mercs, kind of like you'd find in some of the maps in Heroes of the Storm, only taken up a few levels and then multiplied so they appear more often and cause a bigger threat to either team. I've got to say, all of the content was really fun so far. I look forward to my first look on the game coming to you guys really soon. And a quick update, this just in, according to the forums, the alpha playtest has been extended to this Wednesday the 29th. On a similar note, if you guys have been keeping up with LiveLock, the futuristic action RPG game that we've covered a couple of times, like past E3 and PAX South, you might be interested in knowing that the game now has a launch date. In case you didn't know, LiveLock is Perfect World Entertainment's first buy-to-play title that they're publishing, so on August 2nd, the game will launch simultaneously for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC for $19.99, as well as a 3-pack for groups of players that want to play for $44.99. A little bit of savings there. So yeah, when we first started covering the game, we thought it was going to be free-to-play, seeing that it was being published by Perfect World. Turns out that wasn't the case, but the game is actually super fun when we tested it out both times, so we decided to check it out anyway. Definitely worth picking up if you plan to play with friends. But speaking of Perfect World Entertainment, Gigantic fans will soon have a new opportunity to play during a stress test for both PC and Xbox One. You can already sign up via gogigantic.com or the ARC page if you haven't already, and the most exciting part here is that the game is no longer Windows 10 exclusive. That alone is going to bring joy to players wanting to try out the game that couldn't before. Hard to say what changes are going to be introduced now over the previous tests, if there's going to be any at all. That we'll have to see, but having the game on any 64-bit version of Windows is probably satisfying enough for most players. Looks like the keys are being sent out to players on June 29th, with the stress test itself going live on the 30th. Keep an eye out at MMOHuts.com for more details coming later this week. Next up, the latest hero in Paragon is now available for the picking. Khaimera is a high-risk, high-reward melee fighter perfect for jungle hunting. One of the abilities, Spirit Regeneration, allows him to increase his health regen every time he lands a basic attack, and it's perfect when comboed with Unleash, which increases his attack speed temporarily. And his ultimate ability is pretty much the icing on that cake that helps him isolate and demolish his enemies, and all of his abilities together make him an excellent skirmisher with really good survivability. The 27.1 update that introduced Chimera also sparked some direction for the development team, namely focusing on match length adjustments, which I feel is kind of needed, super minion mechanics, and several more features to better the performance overall. Check out the new videos at the site post at MMOHuts.com. Also last week, Nexon announced the latest playable character in Vindictus is about to make her debut. The new character Delia is a young female knight mercenary armed with a deadly two-handed sword. Take advantage of massive buffs for the next 6 weeks with the Delia warm-up event starting today, June 27th, leading up to Delia's release on July 14th and going beyond that. Check out the list of event rewards and dates along with even more information from the link in the description below. Likewise, the new Soul Fighter class is now available in Blade and Soul. This is pretty much a reminder, but the latest patch released last week on the 22nd marked the start of PvP Season 3, which will run through August 2nd. With the release of the Soul Fighter, you can now face Soul Fighter opponents in Trial Arena and Tower of Infinity. By the way, the Soul Fighter class is available to the Jin, Gong, and Yun. Forgot to mention that before. According to the patch notes, the Blessing of Wisdom buff will be available through July 20th, which provides plus 50% to combat XP, plus 50% to daily quest XP, and plus 100% guild points from crafting and gathering. Just as nice as anything else is more localization updates. This patch fixed and updated a huge amount of text, voiceover, and cutscene localization in English, German, and French. Find out more from the new Soul Fighter overview video and official patch notes. Next up, Aeria Games released a new trailer debuting the Terracottages in Twin Saga. Now, the Terracottages allow for fast travel across the vast continent of Meridia, but it also doubles as a player's home. Kind of reminds me of Borhat in Seven Deadly Sins. The Terracottages have several floors, all designed to fulfill your adventuring needs. The main floor is completely customizable. Collectible furniture and wallpaper can be applied and adjusted to your preference, and this is where you can also hang out with friends that you invite in. The remaining floors contain the workshop and greenhouse, where you can fine-tune your professions and craft all kinds of useful items, from potions and food to gear, costumes, and of course, more furniture for the house. You might also find the occasional NPC that pays you a visit to offer quests, and it's a really interesting combo mechanic here. I'm still kind of interested in seeing whether or not it actually feels any different than just being a regular instance. I'm hoping that you can actually tell you're moving around the game world, like, maybe if you stepped outside, you're in a different place against your own will. I don't know. Again, I have a feeling that we're probably going to find out soon enough. All Aeria games tend to go open beta somewhat short after they're originally announced. As another reminder, Riders of Icarus begins its head start this week on June 29th, for those who picked up a Founders Pack, of course. News coming in today, in fact, is a new gameplay trailer showing off some of the epic enemies players are going to have to face, including the crazy huge raid boss fight via aerial combat that I showed off briefly in my first look. It looks like you can still pick up a Founders Pack if that's what you're interested in. Otherwise, the game goes into its open beta phase next week on July 6th. In other news, My.com's new MMORPG Revelation Online drops a new video revealing one of the central stories that forms the lore of the game world. And so the story goes, the gods shaped the world, and the spirit of change created wardens to protect it. But even the strongest, noblest beings can become lost in their own power. Of course that's gotta happen. And from that corruption came the darkness. When all hope seemed to be lost, the 5 remaining wardens answered the call. A little late. Returning to battle the hordes that lurked within the darkness's embrace. this proved futile. The Eldest Warden knew that it was impossible to destroy the darkness, so he thought, can't beat them, join them. So now there's only 4 Wardens remaining, standing to face the hordes of darkness, and of course their own brother now. The new trailer you see here kind of gives you the gist of that, but I've got to say, the cinematic is pretty cool. Like Skyforge started out, I have a feeling it will be a little while before we actually get access to playtest this game. My.com games tend to announce early and build hype before the games are actually ready to play. And finally, as a friendly reminder for those of you who might be super caught up in some summertime activities or haven't been paying attention, plenty of games are actually running sales and events for July 4th. In fact, Smite is having its 3rd annual Gabe Said So sale. That's starting up this coming weekend on July 1st to the 4th. But beyond that, just browsing through, Steam has some awesome sales going on right now for some really great games, even ones that are new, like Doom for 40% off and Fallout 4 for half the price. Even some of the Steam hardware is on sale, like the Steam controller or the Link. Not bad, definitely worth taking advantage of. The sales seem to get better and better every year. Anyway guys, that's about it for all the major MMO news and announcements for this week. Like always, if you're looking for more information regarding the news featured in the recap, check the links in the description below. Otherwise, hang out at MMOHuts.com for plenty more gaming news. Feel free to discuss the news in the comments below and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And until next time guys, that's going to be it for me. I'm James Blonde. See you out there, gamers.